so much for tuning back into another episode of Trailblazer. Des and I are so excited to have you here. Today is going to be a very special episode, first and foremost because we are going to talk about a really deep and vulnerable topic, and we hope to make a big impact on your life today with our message. Second of all, this is our 10th episode, so we finally have hit double digits, and we are going to continue to put out content, and we have plans to put out even more content in the near future. And last but not least, we're almost at 500 downloads for all of our episodes, and with this release, we're hoping to hit that milestone. We actually only need 54 more downloads to hit 500. So thank you guys so much for all the downloads and the listens and the time you've spent with us. We really hope you've enjoyed it, and we're so happy to have you back.
Trailblazer Podcast aims to blaze the trail of growth, empowerment, and self-love for women and beyond. Together, we will look through the eyes of a modern woman and address the challenges we must overcome to live our best lives. Are you ready to hear what you need to hear? Are you ready to become the best version of yourself? Keep listening for some life-changing inspiration. Before we get into it, I want to say thanks to those friends who continue to listen and to give feedback. I'm constantly writing about this in my gratitude journal. It means the world to me, and I know it means the world to Julie as well. I got a message today from one of our old friends from high school, actually, who just listened to our last episode. She shared some great insight about some things that we can do to grow as podcasters. One of the things she said was we can continue to share personal information about ourselves and our friendship. And she also said that we should bring on some guests so that we can share some fresh perspectives. So I want to say thank you so much, Andrea. We totally agree. We definitely are going to be doing more of all of that. We're on it. So sure. we are excited to announce that our next episode will be extra special because it will be our first guest speaker episode.
Yes, one of my really good friends from college, his name is PJ. He's going to be on Trailblazer with us for the episode after this one. We are going to talk about his life, what he's up to, how he's been, and his life as a Black man in America, as well as the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, Des and I and Trailblazer, we're all inclusive, and we accept and respect everybody, no matter shape, size, or color. So we want to give PJ a platform to talk all about his culture and his life and how he's doing. And we are so excited to have him on. It's also going to be a really fun one. I'm sure there's going to be lots of laughter. So make sure you don't miss it.
Yeah, if you think that Julie and I are funny together, just wait till we have PJ in the room as well, in the virtual room. You know, it's going to be pretty sick. So it's going to be a hoot. Hell yeah, it's going to be awesome. So lastly, before we get into the episode, we just want to take a moment to say rest in peace to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We thank you, Ruth, for all of you've done to protect and pursue women's rights. And though I'm very worried about the Supreme Court right now and the future of it, I am hopeful for the future of women. Because of women like you, Ruth, we understand that we deserve better as women. So thank you for paving the way.
The future is female. R.I.P. Ruth.
R.I.P. Ruth. And let's all hope that the Supreme Court is not all conservative male, or we can say goodbye to our uteruses.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So freaking sad and scary, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, I'm not going to be manifesting the end of our uteruses yet,
No.
So I'm manifesting the opposite.
Yes.
My uterus will be alive.
The uteruses
It lives.
are alive and well.
Not alive enough to hold a baby, but alive. That's where I want to be right now, right in the middle of the spectrum.
That's all we need. That's all you need.
Hanging on.
Yes.
So inner child's
Oof.
what we're talking about today.
Good stuff.
It's full freaking circle. Yes, it's full freaking circle from where we started like 3 episodes ago when we've been talking all about self-worth and self-love and all of this. And today it's all gonna freaking come together. This is the final piece, I think, of everything we've touched on. And I'm super excited to talk about it. So what better way than to start with the definition out of the dictionary, right? That's not cliche at all. So let's do it. So, inner child, what is it? According to the Oxford Dictionary, it is a person's supposed original or true self, especially when regarded as damaged or concealed by negative childhood experiences. Everyone has an inner child, while every inner child within each person is different, I think it's safe to say that we were all wounded by something or someone when we grew up. You might be able to point directly to the trauma. You might have had abuse or neglect, or you might be thinking, no, I had a great childhood, no traumas here. But you don't have to have had, alcoholic parents or a divorce or, any of those big T's, you might call them, to have, suffered a wound. And as we get through this episode, we'll explain a lot of different ways to expose the wounds of your inner child. Not only we're going to talk about those wounds and what they look like, but also how you can decode your behaviors and actions and reactions as an adult to figure out the needs of your inner child and how you can heal your inner child. We're also going to talk about why it's important that you do that. The wounds of your inner child are likely robbing you of your authentic life that you want to live right now. And we hope this episode will help you move into a more authentic way of living. That's one of our messages of being a trailblazer. So much of who we are comes down to our inner child, and we want to start unpacking it.
Yeah.
The first thing we had on the list, Julie, was memories, right?
Memories. Yes, memories, usually the ones, not everybody can remember memories from their childhood, but if you can remember them, usually they give you a lot of insight into, how your childhood was, right?
I would say so. I mean, but I do think a lot of people might regard their childhood as more positive, but they might still have a lot of wounds.
True. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of us have a mixture of good and bad memories. And I think the ones that, no matter if they were good or bad, the ones that had the most profound emotional experience on us are the ones that probably have stuck with us, no matter, like I said, if it was good or bad. So those kind of help you paint a picture, I think, of what we feel internally and how, or what the status of our inner child is now as adults. So let's turn this into a positive thing, though, Des. What's your favorite memory from when you were a kid?
Well, I think it's interesting you said, like when we look back on our childhood overall, right? For me, I don't have a specific memory that comes to mind, like a favorite as a child, but I do have a collection of memories that sticks out to me. Yeah. So my family very much was like we went to the campground and like the park a lot, and we would either be camping overnight in tents or we would just have like a whole family day, grill out, baseball, volleyball, soccer, like kickball, like all the games.
Nice.
And everyone just chilling and together. And it was, since we come from such a small town too, I didn't realize how like abnormal this probably is, but it was my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family because everyone knew everybody and all their family friends. So for me, I always thought I had like this huge family. In a way I do, but also there's all these family friends and just both sides were always together, which is just a little abnormal. But anyway, for me, that it was just such a magical feeling. And I had so many cousins similar in age, and as we'll get into it later, I'm kind of a bit of a loner. So that for me was like my social apex, I guess. And that's when there was so much joy and love, and just that get together in its very nature was a very positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you have certain people that might not always behave in the best ways in the world, when they're around a bunch of other people, they are more likely to act better. So those for me were the best times because everyone was on their best behavior.
Aw.
So those, I kind of turned it a little dark, but
No.
once I give more context later, that'll
Yeah.
make sense. But for me, that was why there was so much joy, because it was so magical and it was so different, and it was frequent though. It was frequent, so that was good.
That's
There were a lot of
awesome.
moments for that. Absolutely. What was yours?
I think I'm similar in the way you remember your childhood, in that I have a lot of collection of like moments all kind of strung together that were my favorite. I don't know if I have one specific memory, but I mean, a few came to mind when you were explaining yours. I'll never forget this one summer at our lake house. We were really young, myself and my brothers, and it was 4th of July, and on our block at the lake house was a huge lake house party for 4th of July, and our neighbors always had music and fireworks and food and boats and jet skis and like the whole nine. And so everybody on the road got invited to go to this big 4th of July lake party. And wow, I had so much fun that day with my brothers and the lake kids, and I will never forget that. I remember a view. I was up at our house like looking over the lake and like seeing all the parties happening and people having fun and dancing and laughing and playing volleyball and all that. And I still like have a very vivid like image in my mind of that moment. And it was really, really fun. And then another time was we had a really big storm back in the day. And the storm was so big that it tore down one of our big trees in our backyard at our house in Pheasant Ridge. And after the storm, we got to go outside and play in the tree because it was this huge, huge tree fallen in our backyard. And we got to play on the trunks and in the branches. And that was fun too. I think my mom has a few pictures of us playing in that. And I don't know why that always has stayed with me. I just had so much fun playing outside. I loved being outside as a kid, and I still do as an adult. But so a lot of my positive memories, or just memories in general from being a child, are about being at the lake and swimming and being outdoors and in the woods and hiking and searching for rocks and sticks and all the things that the kids do. you know what I'm saying?
Do kids these days know what sticks are? I don't know if they do.
It's hard to tell, but maybe not. Probably not.
Oh man. Oh wow. Those are great memories, and a lot of mine feel so similar, just being outside. And I played a lot, like climbing trees was a big thing.
Yeah.
Hanging around the railroad. Like a fucking delinquent.
That brings something up. When you lived on Division, right behind Central, I came over and we hung out on a weekend or something after school, and I remember you and I walking on that railroad right there behind the high school.
Oh yeah,
Remember
that's
that?
right. Yeah.
We might have even that might have been when we had cell phones, like way back when we first started, getting us. The first year we had a cell phone. I think we might have even taken some pictures. I think I remember, but I don't.
Oh,
girl,
I don't you better fish these out. Oh shit!
I don't think I have them, but I just remember seeing them after we took them. You know what I mean? Unless it's something I'm just creating in my mind.
I've definitely been on the railroad tracks there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there with several different people, but I know I have no doubt. And that's funny too, because the train tracks I'm talking about are different train tracks, but I didn't realize this till after I moved out of Indiana. Like, there's so many fucking trains in northern Indiana.
Yeah.
There's so many trains.
Yeah.
And I've lived in so many places since, and like, there's an occasional train, like a railroad track, but not like, you get held up from gymnastics practice every other day from the train type situation. So
that is so true. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I was on
we
my
live
way.
in a good life now.
Oh, right. I was on my way to work one morning, and I drive from Tempe to Queen Creek in Arizona. And as you get to Queen Creek, there's a little railroad track above this street that I use. And there was a train on it one day. I was like, oh, there's a train. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. That's literally the thought that I had. Because you're so right. You don't see them, like, except if you live in Indiana. So.
Oh my gosh, so many trains.
So many trains.
It's just a good thing it's such a flat fucking state. That's why there's so many trains just running through there. It's the easiest thing to build.
True.
Maybe they just flattened the entire state out when they were building the railroad.
That's exactly why Indiana's so freaking flat and why we just have a lot of cornfields and things.
I do not miss it even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Oh, I miss some of the people in it. So if you're listening from Indiana, I probably miss you. Yeah. I just want you to move this way. Okay.
Yes.
Do yourself a favor. You can come stay with me.
Please, get out of Indiana. Okay. But we digress. We digress.
Oh, yes. Just a little bit more about being a kid. I was just, it was just, you're focused on play. You're not focused on work. You are a master of imagination. You're not stressing out about things. Like I remember, even though my parents were stressing about things, I knew they were stressing about things. I didn't ever take that on myself. I don't think. I was just like, oh, they're stressing, but it's going to be okay. Like even times where it's going to be fine. Like even times where I was homeless and looking back, like now I'm like, oh shit, we were homeless. Like I didn't give a shit, Julie. I didn't give a shit.
Right.
I'm like, cool. We get to sleep on sleeping bags on the floor. Like I didn't give a shit. So we take on all these responsibilities as adults, but we also, in some ways create issues or make things like they're not up to our expectations. We create all these expectations when as a kid, you're just like, whatever, like this is life, man. Oh, this is what we're supposed to do. Sounds good.
Right.
So absolutely. How have we gotten away from being our childlike selves?
Dude, I think it's just life. Like do you remember being young and feeling like you knew everything?
Oh my God.
You remember that? And then you get older and older and you experience more and more life, relationships and jobs and money issues and bills and responsibilities and, everything you have to grow into as you get out of those stages of being a kid. And you're like, whoa, I didn't know life had all of this stuff in it. Like, I want to go back to being fun with no responsibilities and no issues at all. I think life just kind of unfortunately hardens you, like the way you have to live, and make money and pay bills and have a job and follow the rules and learn how to be yourself and work through all your mental issues and your health issues and like just learn how to be a functioning adult human being. It's like tough,
I was trying to think of the right word earlier, and I think you're right. Like, it hardens you. Like, we have to put on this tough skin and just work it out, And honestly, I think it's another episode's worth of talking. Like, there is another way. I really think there is.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you're going to live the traditional lifestyle, it's a grind. It is a grind. And you're not prepared for that as a kid. You're just like, wait, you want me to... I have to do what? Like, that's the expectation? Oh. And you had to grow up real quick. You're like, well, I don't have time for imaginary friends anymore. So bye, Tom. Like, okay. And you arrive at this point where we are.
Yeah. And you're like, where did it all go? Like, I thought life was one way and I thought I was on this one path, but wait, I don't really feel like aligned with this path anymore. And how do I fix it? What do I do? And how do I begin to figure out what I'm truly passionate about and what I love to do and like what lights me up? And why do I have to keep doing this grind every day if it's like totally draining everything out of my life? And then you're like, wait a second, where did life go?
We just go this direction we're told we're supposed to go.
Yeah.
We never stop to just be like, is this the direction I want to go?
Yeah.
You're just like, you're put on this track and you're slapped through school. And before you even get a chance to think of it, you're just like, oh, I'm in college. Okay, I got to pick a major. I don't know what I want to do. Okay, I guess this is my major. I guess this is my life. I guess, and you just keep moving forward through it as you think you should, or it's just like going so fast it's out of your control. But I'm trying to like put on the brakes. I'm like, whoa, it's possible I'm doing all the things that I want to do and I should be doing, but there's a very good possibility I'm not doing any of the things that I wanted to do as a child, right? Like, well, I'm not in space right now. I know as a kid, I know I wanted to be in space. So there's that. Like, what other things am I neglecting because I grew up?
Yeah. Dude, I don't even remember what I truly wanted to be when I was a kid. I think there was a part of life or a phase of my childhood where I wanted to be in the military and I had like an army girl face, and I'm really glad I didn't do that. But
I did not know that about you.
yeah, I think this was before we
Damn.
met. Yeah, I was all about camo, and I think I dressed up as an army girl one year for Halloween, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be in the military someday. I'm gonna fight for this country or whatever the crap I was into. But
Oh, my little
dude,
patriot.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I'm a changed woman in this day and age because I would not have survived in the military. But I don't even remember after that what I wanted to be. I think I wanted to be a doctor at one point, but
But who knows?
who knows?
Once you find out how much school you got to do to be a doctor,
How
I'm
much
just
money
like,
it takes? Yeah,
oh, you're like, oh, okay.
I thought I could.
I
Just
could
get
be a
away.
doctor when I'm 40, but before that, I'm fucked.
Right. But that's the bad thing about it. Like I don't even remember who I was sometimes. Like back in that part of my life, right? And I think getting connected to that person that we used to be might have a lot of answers about what we want to do moving forward or how we should heal ourselves moving forward, or just
It might be the only way,
yeah,
Julie.
yeah.
What if it's the only way for you to find out? Because I know you and I have these conversations. I hope you don't mind me sharing.
No,
But like you're just trying to figure it out. Like, what's your thing?
right.
And even as your best friend, like I feel like at this point, a lot of my best friends, if they said, or like really close friends, if they said like, what would you see me doing? I would be able to answer it. And for you, there's a lot of things that you can do, but there's not one thing where I look at and I'm like, Julie loves this.
Yeah.
Like this is her freaking thing. Like you and I could probably both answer this one. What's my brother's freaking thing?
Building things,
Like
creating art.
art and cars.
Yeah, cars,
Both of
I
those
forgot about
things.
cars.
It's both those things though. You're totally right. He goes in on those, and I could answer that. Like you need to
Yeah.
do something with one of those two things. But that doesn't strike me with you, and I think you've only recently realized like how much you've been suppressing your inner child and like
Ugh.
your inner desires.
Dude, yeah, man, 2020 has been really revealing in a lot of ways, and I've like learned a lot about myself in this year, and I think that's the whole point of this year, despite coronavirus and all the political issues and everything else going on in the world. I feel like 2020 had to happen, like COVID-19 had to happen, all the political issues had to happen to help people like me figure out what the fuck we're here to do. And I really hope that other people have had the same experience. And I feel like I've had so much clarity this year, and I'm so excited to like put it all into play next year. But I feel like in September 2020, I still don't know what I'm here to do. And I don't know, man. I hope I can figure it out. I really hope I can figure it out.
You know what? You will. You'll figure it out. I have no doubt in my mind. And you can't expect it to happen. And we're not even 9 entire months into the year, and
True.
all these changes are happening happening so quickly, and it's not going to happen overnight. But the fact that you're just able to acknowledge what's going on and what you're going to do about it, like just be patient with yourself. And I'm excited to see what you figure out, what you decide.
I'm excited too.
It's going to be exciting. Yeah.
Dude, when I figure it out, I promise you, there's no stopping me. Like, be ready for me.
I'm ready, girl. I'm just sitting back like for the ride. I got all the shit. I got my bags packed. I got my sunglasses and my swimsuit. That's all I need. And we're going on a ride.
Ooh, you got your surfboard, girl, the kayak. Got those things ready to go because we're gonna need those.
Surfboard's less work if I can just start, on the wave here. So you gotta start the paddle, but I'm gonna ride the wave. All right. So you put a couple other things here on the list for how we've gotten away from our childlike selves.
Yes.
Society, cultural norms, bullying from peers, rules, our jobs, and the pressure to fit the mold and fit in.
Fuck the
Yeah.
mold. Fuck fitting in is what I'm saying.
We're not Jello. We're not. So I think your list is spot on. Did you have anything else to add to it?
No, man. I want to talk about the bullying thing though. I feel like bullying is so detrimental to somebody's mental health, and it literally impacts a person's development for the rest of their lives. It is such a profound experience that so many of us experience at such a young age, right? I think you told a story in one of our previous episodes, Des, about how this guy bullied you, and you that has stayed with you. You're almost 28 years old and you still have that very vivid memory. And it I don't even know how we would go about fixing the bullying problem, but it just really starts out when we're young. Like all of the problems we experience as adults just truly have to stem from our experience as kids, right?
But it's a cycle. It's a
Yeah.
cycle. Because let me just quick into that story. Referencing the story I told in a previous episode, I talked about this kid in elementary school who made fun of me because he saw me going into like a shop at a Goodwill store. And when I was a kid, okay, before this happened, I had no problem with shopping at Goodwill. To me, it was another store. It was fun. It was like full of a lot of stimuli, right? And it's where I got my clothes.
Yeah.
And it was cool to be able to wear all these name brand clothes when I truly couldn't afford to buy them firsthand. So I never felt like a poor kid. But after that kid made fun of me, that's when I felt shame. That's when I felt embarrassment. That's when I felt singled out. That's when I felt alone. That's when I felt handicapped.
Mm-hmm.
And those feelings only came after he acted as an external force onto me. And it was traumatic for me, for sure. And he told everybody. So it wasn't just this one kid, it was more people. And I have forgiven him and these other people because I understand that they were my same age too. And they didn't feel any type of way about Goodwill. They were told something about that.
Yeah.
They learned.
Right.
Some adult taught them that it had to do with a status symbol and told them that that made me less of a person or someone worthy of being made fun of, right? So an 11-year-old doesn't just pull that out of his ass. He's not capable of feeling that way. So it's adults teaching that. So the thing is, the cycle, it just continues, and it always will. And some areas, adults act more like high schoolers than others, but
Yeah.
this is what it is. And so we have to be really mindful of what we're teaching our children, which is one of the reasons I don't want to have kids yet, because I really want to get it right.
Yeah.
I not just like raise like a good, happy kid like me, like I'm great and happy, but I want to do even better. Like I want to get it as right as I can. And I know I won't be perfect, and I can't wait forever because I'll never be ready. Right. But anyway, there's just certain things like this kid shouldn't have been taught that.
No.
And do I think his parents came up to him and said, go tell this girl that shops at Goodwill that she's a stupid piece of shit? Like, no, I don't think his parents did that. I really don't. They were probably trying their best too. But all I mean to say is it's a cycle, and it can do so much to you, but it's learned. It's not something that is innate.
No.
So it's not a child attacking a child. It's really a damaged adult attacking a child via a child. So it's very interesting, right?
Ooh, that's so deep. Yeah, a damaged adult who is still wounded from their previous childhood, who thinks it's right and somehow helps their kid kind of get ahead in the world by teaching them a certain way of thinking or living, to where that kid then translates that into making fun of somebody else, bullying somebody else, beating up somebody else, for his own benefit. Because he's injured at the end of the day. That child is wounded at the end of the day because that child probably isn't getting what he needs as a child from their parent, because the parent's inner child is still wounded and they haven't been able to heal that and break the cycle.
It's spot on.
I am mind blown. Oh my gosh, I just made that connection, and that is, oh wow, that is crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I mean, it is crazy. And so much of who we are is just what we've learned and what we've been told. And I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't, that so much of who I am isn't just completely out of a jello mold. I've been shaped by American society and the pursuit of the American dream.
Mm,
And it was, I think, because both my parents grew up very poor, I guess is the word, as well. They wanted better for me, right? And so they told
right.
me the path to success, which was going to school and going to college and getting a degree and working for a good company. And I did that, and I'm happy, right? I'm happy. They didn't do anything wrong, but did I create all of those dreams myself? Is that what I said I wanted to
Mm,
do, or did they teach me that's what I wanted to do? And so, the mold is only continued. We follow this kind of suggestion from our parents, which again, I'm not upset with my parents. I love them. They did great.
mhm.
We follow this mold, and then it's you drink the Kool-Aid and you get the good grades and you go to college and you work for a corporation, you buy a house, you get married, you have kids, blah, blah, blah. And then before you even have time to just be like, wait, is this what I really wanted? Like your life plan is already happening right
Right,
before your eyes.
right.
And exactly. So it's just a system. We're all a part of the system, but we all decide to comply. We collectively, as people, choose the norms. And the norms, even though they slowly change over time, what we wear, how we act, what we say, blah, 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 we are all trying so hard to blend in with those norms and to be a part of it that we don't want to stand out. We are not going to try to be ourselves in situations to be authentic. We are not going to try to stick out when we could blend in. We're so afraid.
Dude, yeah, because
So,
society literally shuns individualism. I mean, why do we need a Black Lives Matter movement? That is it's preposterous that people even need to stick up for Black lives. It's preposterous that we even need LGBTQ rights. Like
mhm,
individualism is shunned in this society. And
mhm,
it's literally bred from the time that we're born, right? And how we grow up and how our childhoods
mhm.
are shaped. And it's not cool, man. Like
From the start of the gender reveal party where it's either blue or pink, that's where it starts.
it's
I
not
mean,
cool.
all the way back there. Yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy how so many of us live these like programmed lives, and so many people are just okay and they don't even think anything of it. It's crazy to me, but that's why you and I are here, right? We're trying to freaking get to the bottom of these things.
We're trying
Seriously
to really
though.
differentiate ourselves from animals because in so many ways we are, but we we all just have some wounds we got to heal.
And I just want to clarify from earlier what I said when I said, why do we even need a Black Lives Matter movement? I know why we need one now. What I'm saying is there should not have ever been a reason in the beginning for us to need one now, is what I was saying. So
Hmm.
just to clarify, I get it and I support, but,
Oh yeah, we support Black Lives
but
Matter.
I'm like,
Why did it come to this?
why is it, yeah,
Why did it get
why
this
has it gotten
far?
so
Why
bad? Like,
we thought we fought this battle.
so Des, like you touched on earlier, when we experience our childhood, we experience, some of us may or may not experience different kinds of trauma, different kinds of dysfunction or unhealthiness, And while they don't seem that big of a deal maybe when we're kids because you're maybe not totally aware of what's going on inside of you, that trauma does create sometimes some pretty kind of deep rooted wounds inside of us, and those wounds will continue to manifest and be a part of your life as you grow older into adulthood. unless you truly understand and get to the bottom of them and heal them. And trauma from childhood, if you're not aware of it, may even like bubble up due to certain triggers in your life as an adult. And you may have different issues that kind of make you seem childish because you're still resorting back to that inner child that you used to be when you were hurt in the past. And vice versa, if you have a healthy inner child, if you're aware of this trauma and you've healed it, then I think that in turn helps us be really, really, really strong in life too, you know?
Yes, I think you said this very well. And the one thing I heard you say, I'm just going to add on a little bit, is where you said these childhood traumas may bubble up in our adult lives. I think it's will.
Okay.
I think they do. And I think that they manifest themselves in such obscure ways sometimes that we can't even identify them. And I actually got, and I have a decent example that I got on the tube. It was a TED Talk. And this speaker shared a story about how she would come home to find that her roommate had left dishes in the sink, and she would react like angrily. She would throw the dishes around like she's all disgruntled, washing them, whatever, and she would throw the dishes and she, was thinking about it and why the dishes shouldn't really cause that much of a reaction. She wanted to know why were these dishes triggering her to act in such a way. And, that was her indication that this was a part of her wounded inner child, that the reaction was kind of disproportionate to the problem. So she thought, what was it that was really making her so mad? It wasn't just that the dishes were in the sink, right? It was something deeper. And she realized that it was that she was not being considered. She felt like, how dare my roommate leave these in the sink? How dare my roommate not think about me and how this is important to me to have a clean kitchen? It was very hurtful to her to not be considered. So the real problem wasn't the dishes. It was just that she felt like she wasn't being cared for and cared about.
Okay, so it's the root issue, or the root cause of the trigger or the issue. And that made me think, it's totally and very possible that these things happen in our lives and we're not very aware of the root cause and that it's connected to our inner child issues.
All the time. I think that's why we had to do this episode.
Absolutely.
To help people just notice what's going on and to realize it's not about the dishes, it's about something deeper. So we got to dig in there. We got to help ourselves.
Dude, I love that. Gotta dig in deep. But I just want to say, first of all, dude, the whole dishes thing, when you said that, I thought about this time back when I lived with my roommates in college at the cottages. I lived with 4 other people, and thankfully we each had our own bathroom and our own room, but we shared the kitchen and the common areas. And I had a few roommates who were very, very messy in the kitchen and never, ever did their dishes, never picked up, never did the pans. Every time I wanted to cook, I had to clean something. And I
actually remember doing dishes with you.
Yes, it was such a big problem, dude. And I literally relate to that girl from your video so much because I used to be so triggered by those dishes. I think I was that roommate who left passive aggressive notes. And I hate myself for doing that now that I look back. I would never do that now. I would just tell it to your face. But back then I was too afraid. And wow. So true though. You have to just look for the root cause. And I think I probably felt similar. I just felt like they were totally unaware of somebody else living in the house and that somebody else has different needs other than theirs and that I wasn't being considered at all. That's totally the root of that one. But
yeah. Hey, Julie, it circles back to what we said in our last episode, which is it's not all about so you. True. They probably weren't thinking about you at all. They were just super busy and maybe they were studying or partying or something and probably just could have done a better job. But they didn't think this is going to hurt Julie's feelings or make Julie feel like she's not cared for or considered if I don't do them. They were just thinking about themselves. So Also, yeah, I mean, it's also us thinking about us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Being a little bit selfish in our own way, I guess. But wow, I mean, it's just so relatable. I remember as a child growing up, we had a lot of dysfunction in my family for sure. My dad was an alcoholic growing up. He's not anymore, but he was. He was for a long part of his life when we were kids. And my mom was, I think, just doing her best, trying to live her life and take care of four children, three boys and me. And she had her own life stuff that she hasn't or didn't know how to heal back then. And that unfortunately kind of always came out when we were kids. But because of all the dysfunction, I remember as a child feeling like I didn't matter. There were times where we would get into huge fights as a family. And I remember screaming my lungs out to the point where I couldn't talk anymore at the end of the night. And that, but no matter how loud I screamed, I was never heard. My voice was never heard. My needs were never met in those moments. And so felt like I didn't have a voice, and that I kind of like should have just been like in my own bubble, and like not really, like I didn't really just belong kind of in a way, and I shouldn't be seen. And I hung out in my room a lot and by myself. And unfortunately, I had a sibling who also had like just a lot of behavioral issues, and my parents were always spending so much time on him and with him. And they unfortunately didn't realize that they weren't making time for me and my emotional needs as a young girl. And I grew up feeling really misunderstood, and again, like I was really alone. And it was a crazy, crazy childhood. But and because of all of that, I grew into this really guarded and reserved individual. And I only opened up to people if and when I became comfortable with them. But because of that, I always found it really hard to get close to certain people or just most people. And kind of like Des touched on earlier, I've always been kind of a loner, and I only have like Des, you're like my best friend. And then I have a few other friends who I stay in contact with, who I would regard as like a really good, solid friend who I can share things with. But it's still hard to this day for me to be intimate with others and like really show somebody who I truly am underneath it all. And also, another factor is that my mom is a really strict Catholic woman, and I grew up in the Catholic faith. I went to Catholic school. My parents put us in Catholic school, and we went to church twice a week. And we had Sunday school. We had Bible study, and the Catholic faith literally ruled everything I learned as a child, like how to handle life and relationships and sex and being a woman and the way you dress and the way you speak, and like everything was based in the Catholic faith. And that's that's really restrictive, a really restrictive way to learn about life, because it's so one
Mhm.
one minded and single minded. It's like one path, is like the Catholic faith. And I remember always like trying to talk to my mom about certain things, and I was always met with such resistance from her and like misunderstanding. And she and I were like never on the same page. So a lot of like what I'm going through now as an adult comes from the lack of understanding that I experienced from my mother and my relationship with her, and her not really ever being able to kind of meet me where I was as a young girl growing up. And now I'm going to share a story, but now I want to let you guys know, and especially mom, if you're listening, I understand now that the reason why it was like this growing up is just because my mom didn't know she didn't know what she was doing, or she didn't intend to do all of this or make me feel this way at all. She did her best job, and I love her, and we have a great relationship now, but she just, as her, in her adult world, she was still nurturing her inner child, right, at this time. So I'm just going to share a story with you, just so you can like understand what I'm talking about. But like, so I was in middle school, and I was beginning puberty as a young girl, and one thing that happens in puberty is us girls, we grow our chest. The girls, they come out to play, and I remember at this time in my life, all the middle school girls were beginning to wear training bras. It was like a big thing, and they were all talking about it. And me being a loner, not really having any good girlfriends in middle school, in my Catholic middle school, I like heard bits and pieces here and there, and I was able to ask a few questions to some girls that I knew I could talk to about it. But I hadn't been taken by my mom yet to get a bra, and nor had she even brought anything up yet. So one day, I went home from school, and I was like, "Hey, mom, I think I really need a bra. Look at me. Like, I think it's time. Like, don't you think it's time? Like all the other girls are wearing one, blah, blah, blah." I asked her if she could take me shopping, and she met my request with such resistance, and it was almost like disgust for me asking this. Like she thought I didn't.
The audacity.
The audacity, right? Right, exactly. That's how it was. It was like she thought I didn't need one, or like she didn't want to spend money on one or something. And of course, it ended with a fight and probably tears. I always cried at the end of our fights because I always felt like she didn't understand me at all, and like I just could never ever like get her to understand me. And this is a situation, though, just to give you an example, that always told me that my needs didn't matter as a child. Now, eventually, my mom gave in. Thankfully, she allowed me to get a bra. But I remember, like, the bra shopping. OMG, it was so painful. We went to Meijer, I think, Des. You remember Meijer? And
I was just telling John about Meijer. I was like, John, Meijer was the best. You got to ride the purple dinosaur.
Yes, I remember the dinosaur. Oh, my gosh. But that shopping trip, that's another, like, bad memory I'll never forget. It was so painful, her helping me shop for a bra. She was very uncomfortable. And it was bad. But anyways, that's just an example of a moment in my life that taught me that my needs didn't matter. So then growing up and becoming an adult, I always had this chip on my shoulder, like, I don't need anybody. I can handle life all on my own, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't need to open up. I can do this. I can do that. I can be selfish. I can do whatever I want, and nobody cares about me. I care about me, and just not a right way to live. But this is just some work I've been aware of now for the last couple of years that I've been working on.
That's good for you. I think you drew such a good parallel of something that's so common, that's something that so many of us probably experienced growing up as girls. Like, obviously, shopping for a bra, hopefully at some point, if you're listening to this podcast, did you get that opportunity? But it's so common, and it just points to exactly what you said, not having your needs met and feeling invalidated.
Yeah.
And maybe even feeling shame. Definitely. Or embarrassment, or, that's tough. And I'm really glad that you guys have a better relationship now. Mm-hmm. And those are the type of mistakes where I'm sure your mom just had your best interest in mind. I know she did. I know that she cares about you and loves you so much. And she had this idea about what was best for you. And it, and being the adult, and you think that your idea about what's best for the kid is more appropriate, right? But in this case, you had some needs that needed to be met, and finally they were, which is great. And I'm glad, you had a bra, and hopefully now you burned it because bras suck. But
dude, now I'm like, hell yeah, free the nib, no bra needed. Like, let me buy every.
Your mom was just spitting truth,
right?
Back in the day,
let me buy every piece of clothing that allows me to not wear a bra. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, underwire, ew, gross. I literally bought exactly. I bought a strapless bra with no underwire.
Ooh, I bet that's nice.
What?
I bet that is super
amazing.
Nice.
It's amazing. But I did agree to meet you on the vulnerability level.
Yes, girl, time to get deep. Tell us about something from your trauma and your childhood that you are working through, girl? Give us all the deets.
Always working through things, especially since college, but I'll share this, and it's something I haven't shared with anyone besides close friends or the people that were there. And I mean, most of my vulnerabilities, they stem from having an alcoholic, bipolar, kind of violent father. And I'm not going to lie, it's really hard to say that on a podcast because I love my dad and there's so many amazing things about my dad. But my dad, a lot of my worst childhood, some of the worst parts of me stem from the drama that my dad caused when I was a child. I have, as an adult, noticed that some of the ways I've behaved because of that. I've played a victim in situations when I haven't gotten my way. I have run away, figuratively and literally, from my mistakes. I have pushed and pushed and pushed to reach a resolution to a problem because I was afraid that if we went to sleep before we solved this problem, my partner would just leave me and I would be all alone and I would have no one to blame but myself. And so I'm going to share that specific story and how it relates back to the wounds of my inner child from my father. So I dated this guy in college who I'm sure you met. He was a great guy. Mm-hmm. He's tall, dark, and handsome. And I met him while having a girls' lunch at the OG Olive Garden with Kylie. We were literally having a girls' day. No intention to meet men. Ironically, this is the day I met this guy. But
of course,
at the time, he was digging me from the moment he came up to our table. He got my number before I left. I think we exchanged Facebooks or something. And we ended up unofficially dating for a long time. I think it was somewhere like a year, maybe closer to 2, that we were kind of hanging out off and on. So he was also a lot better at holding his liquor than I was. And I didn't drink beer back then. So I was just a little bit more touchy in general, just because drunk dads can be a real shit. There were a few instances where we had arguments. And to be honest with you, at this point, I don't remember even what we were arguing about, if it was valid or if I mentioned the alcohol, because it could have just been drunk me making something out of nothing, which I had done times before. And when we had these arguments, usually he would say, all right, I'm going to go home. Why don't you go home? We're going to sleep on it. You know what I mean? We'll figure this out later, or we'll talk later. Or maybe he wouldn't even say that. He was just I'm going to go home. And for me, having grown up with a father who would get angry or want to guilt you, he would just leave. And he would hold out too. He would come back sometimes very quickly, and sometimes it would be months. And so that created a big trauma in me, because I was afraid every time we had an argument, that person was going to leave and not say anything and just go, with their intention being to guilt me that it was my fault. And so obviously I didn't want to leave any problem unresolved. If we were going to argue, I wanted to hash it out right then, right there. And so I'm embarrassed to share this. It's there were times where we would argue and he would go home and I would go on a run through his neighborhood. Or at the worst point, I think we had an argument. I'm sure I was drinking, but I knocked on his door and he didn't answer. I knocked on his door, he didn't answer. I knocked on his door, he answers. I don't want to talk tonight. Let's talk later. Let's talk tomorrow. Let's talk another time. And I was so upset. I just went in the parking garage and I just sat there in the parking garage and I just cried. And I think I was there for hours. And my intention was that maybe he'd feel upset, or he would come out and he would find me and apologize, or we'd be able to talk it out, or he would come out and he'd feel guilty for hurting me, for making me feel so scared that he was going to leave me, but he never came out. He never came out.
Yeah.
At least not that time. And I felt so much shame for the way I reacted. And I still feel, a little ashamed for the way I reacted, to be honest with you. I'm a little embarrassed, and I sharing it even feel as if I appear weaker because of that way I acted. And But I have forgiven myself because I understand I reacted this way because I was scared. And it was just my inner child manifesting itself and saying, I'm afraid. I care about this person and they aren't going to talk to me ever again because I've made a mistake. And I've since learned a way different way of handling it. I've learned, obviously, to drink in moderation, for one thing. I have learned to say the way I'm feeling. I've learned to listen to the way someone else is feeling. I've learned that it's okay to sleep on a problem and to try to fix things in the morning after you're well rested and you have a fresh mind.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for all the things I've learned from that. And at the same time, things would have been different in my life if I had handled them differently sooner. But we're here and it's better late than never, right?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that most vulnerable situation in your life.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to say, doesn't unofficially dating just freaking suck?
Dude,
I feel like if you and him were like not in the unofficially dating phase, I feel like things might have been a little bit better.
I think you're right. I would have felt some more security in him being
Right.
there, but because he wasn't willing to put a label on it, he was either afraid of the same thing or afraid of me feeling more secure.
Yeah.
But
I think he was probably afraid.
I hope that was it because I'd rather that over him just not wanting me to feel secure. But when you don't have this official title, it feels like you're more likely to lose someone. And I think that's why some people get
Yeah.
married so they can feel more secure. They're not going to lose that person.
Oh,
Yeah,
and then they
that's
end up marrying the wrong
oh
person.
gosh, yeah. But that's for a different episode.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think that contributed to me acting that way, and he wasn't the only guy who did that to me too. And so I would say if you're a girl out there and you are with someone who's not willing to put a title on it, they are just trying to leave their they're not they just don't want to be locked up. And
No.
so
They probably got their own things they're dealing with, and they feel like the relationship they need it to fill some sort of hole. I believe is what people do that for.
but they're not looking to
But
get locked down necessarily. So I would probably
no.
do yourself a favor to be on, like, from experience, from someone who's been in, I would say, at least 4 unofficial relationships like that for a good amount of time, over a year. Just stop, because those guys or girls, whoever they are,
It's never good for you.
they don't have your best intentions in mind. They're either more worried about themselves or they got their own things to work on, which is totally fine. You can always revisit it later, right? So, anyway.
No, yeah, but it's so great as though that you realize you realize where the root cause was in that situation and that you worked on it. You actually put work into it and you decided to be a better person and to improve. And that's really, what we're hoping people will get out of this, right? Like becoming aware of those things that happen in their lives and finding the root cause and realizing that it's probably from something from your childhood and like take steps to work through it. And I think I'm at a point now, like just going back to my situation, I'm in a point where I'm just starting to realize, maybe a little bit later than I probably would like to admit. I'm just starting to realize what my relationship with my parents as a child has done to my relationships now as an adult. And like one thing I try to do, or I have tried to do in my previous relationships, is I feel like the guy, like because I felt like I didn't matter as a child, and because I felt so misunderstood and so kind of like just left in the dust. I feel like the people I'm in relationships with now, they have to like prove their loyalty to me before I can open up to them. And it's like this unspoken thing. I like want people like give something up for me or like change something about themselves to be with me because I feel like that is the ultimate gift, I guess, or the ultimate sign of loyalty and commitment to me and that I do matter. And that is so not right on so many levels and totally not even
Not
rational.
rational.
But it's like this thing I make people do for me in my mind. And then once they show me that, I'm loyal to them for life in a way. But dude, it's like not right, and it's something I have to work on. And I want to have deeper, more intimate, meaningful relationships,
Yeah.
and that's my pact to myself. Like I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna work on that.
And you will succeed. And that's what the people who want to be better and the people who want to live more fulfilled lives, those are the people that are better and live more fulfilled lives. Everyone who isn't better and doesn't live a more fulfilled life, that's because they're just not trying. Because it's not that hard. It really isn't. It just takes intentionality. It really just takes you reflecting on things, not just reacting, but looking proactively into situations and how you're going to address them the next time and why you might be acting a certain way, and accepting and forgiving yourself and moving forward. But so many people aren't willing to do that. So just that you're taking that step and you're saying, this is what happened. This is how I'm going to do it differently because I know why it happened and I can rationalize it now and I forgive myself. So you're doing it. And I have no doubt you're going to kill it. You're going to do awesome. You're going to have the deepest relationships
Aw.
in the ocean.
I sure hope so. In a way, just preparing and like this episode in a way was really revealing and healing for me.
Therapeutic.
So,
This is a therapeutic episode.
therapeutic for sure. Des, how can we be more like our inner child now, though, as adults?
I was actually just talking to John about this before we recorded too. And I'm like, is there anything we should add? Like, is there anything that we missed or anything you want to emphasize, so we can have more voices? Because just so everyone that's listening knows, like Julie and I record these podcasts, but we are reading a lot of articles. We're listening to relevant podcasts. We're watching videos. We're talking to our friends. We're talking to our families. We're talking to our dogs and cats. We are absolutely doing our research when we come into these episodes because we want to give the best information. We want to share everything there is to know about relevant topics. So, I did talk to John a little bit, and one of the things he talked about was just the lack of responsibility as a kid and how you're able to choose fun, how you're able to choose enjoyment.
Yes.
And so much as adults, we use the word should. We're always shoulding. We're shoulding all over the place, and we need to quit shoulding. We're shoulding our hearts out.
I love that.
I'm going to trademark that. We're shoulding all over the place. And it's like, I do it all the time. This is the word I'm trying to get out of my dictionary, but it's fucking there. So we need to make time to play, rediscover what we enjoy, speak the truth. You know what? I coached gymnastics for a long time, and someday I will again. Kids, I learned so much from them. They are candid as hell. They will straight up, I'm not even kidding. I have come into coach a practice before, and a kid asked me why I had so many pimples on my face. I swear to God, as a 27-year-old woman with like 4 pimples from God knows what, straight up look you in the eyes, and they will ask you why your hair is different or why you look pale or why you're so mean. Like, kids do not play. We lose this as an adult. We are told, like, no, you can't say that. You shouldn't say that. So society doesn't like when you do that. Society doesn't want you to have purple hair. You're not supposed to act this way. And so we shun groups that are out of the norm. We look at minorities as if they stick out. It's like all these things from... We release ourselves of our own imagination and thought process as kids, and we latch on instead to the one that society gives us. It's super unfortunate.
Oh, such truth there, though. Like, as kids, if you think about it, we only did the things that we loved to do as kids. And if we didn't get our way, we complained about it. And now our lives are set up in such a way that we can't complain. Well, we can. Of course, we can complain about the things we have to do now, but we don't really have a choice. Like, we have to go to work. We have to make money. We have to pay bills. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to perform in a certain way, and it's just... it's draining. It's like not even who we are. And So I really, really think that we have to make time to have fun as adults. We have to make time to play. We have to make time to do the things that we find that are fun. Like I love me some games, and I love like as an adult we do at work we do different events and we'll play games with each other, and I love those days because like you're taking time out of your work day to play games with your coworkers and get to know one another and have fun, and it's like I don't know, it's a good team building thing, but we just need more of that outside of work, just in general. We just need more fun, more play.
I agree. We got to get a little bit closer to our inner child, not just identifying the trauma, but identifying the things that bring us joy. And a lot of that's rooted in things that brought us joy as children. So we got to let our
Yeah.
guard down and choose what you love. Choose an outfit that you know you love, but you're not sure if other people will love. Choose a haircut you like and a hair color you like, and do it and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Choose your hobby, choose your car. Say no to choosing what other people want you to choose. Stop it.
Stop it.
Embrace your inner
And
child.
also,
Also,
kids are very very motivated by incentives and rewards. So don't forget to reward yourself, especially with ice cream or cookies or whatever you like to reward yourself with. Like we have to enjoy those moments. We have to. We have to be able to reward ourselves for a hard day's work, or an A plus on a project, or a job well done from your boss, or a promotion, or a raise, or a new job, or whatever. Just make time to celebrate. Don't forget to celebrate life's achievements as an adult.
I love celebrating, and I know that I force everyone around me to celebrate things too. And I know that everyone loves celebrating too. But sometimes there has to be that person that just goes around and is like, "Hey, we're celebrating!" Like literally the other day, I don't know. I was on the phone with my mom and I was like, "Hey, we're celebrating. Julie and I have 400 downloads or something." It was just like, no, I know what it was. We had our second international listener, and I was like, we had two people
Ah,
outside of the U.S. listening to our podcast. That's so cool. So mom and I took a shot, and and I've been doing this with a lot of things in life, and anyone that's relevant, I'm trying to celebrate with them. I'm trying to get them to celebrate. I just think we need more joy. We're so good at putting ourselves down. We're so good at spreading negativity. We need to just,
so good.
especially in 2020, this fucking year, especially right now, we need to be like, yo, what do you have to celebrate? And call me to take a shot with me. We're celebrating it right now. I'm going to do a whole day of shots tomorrow. I'm just going to be lit. Lit. So call me. You can get
Good
on the
luck.
list.
The
And since
lips.
we're not releasing this episode until next Friday, and so whenever you listen to this, call me, and together we will take a shot. Doesn't matter what day it is. Let's do it. Please call me. You haven't
That's
talked to me in
fun.
10
I want
years.
to get in on the
Julie,
celebration.
call me. You have my number.
No, I want people to call me too.
Well, I'm going to call you, so we'll see who else calls. Call us, please. Call us. You haven't talked to us in a year, 5 years, a month, 10 years, whatever. Please call. Let's take a shot. Let's celebrate something. Celebrate waking up this morning. I'll take a shot for pretty much anything, so let's do it.
She will. She's a cheap date.
Oh, shit. Fuck you. I'm just kidding.
Des, what are some specific things that make you feel like your child self again?
Arts and crafts. That's one thing.
Ooh.
We had some people over this weekend. Don't tell the mayor. We had some people over this weekend, and they had some kids. And whenever the kids come over, obviously I don't have kids. I'm not ready for kids, but I love kids. It's not that I don't like them. I think they're awesome. And they were coming up, and I was getting out the coloring books, and we were coloring together. And I asked them if they knew how to make friendship bracelets, and they didn't. So I pulled a video up on YouTube, and I got the thread out, let them pick their colors, and they were making their friendship bracelets. And then we did a slip and slide. Then we did a
Aw.
painting in the garage. Like I led a whole day camp here for football day, and it was awesome. So it got me feeling like being a kid again too. I'm definitely into the arts and
Aw.
crafts and stuff. What about you?
Oh man. I mean, I said games earlier. Like playing any sort of game, it always
Scrabble.
takes me
I know you
back.
like some Scrabble.
I do like Scrabble, but that's more of an adult game. I'm talking about like I don't know, like kickball or um, relay races, things like that.
Red Rover, send Julie right over.
Send me over. But Christmas lights, man. Lights, just lights in general, make me really feel just like such a kid again. I used to love strolling through the neighborhood and seeing all the Christmas lights, and those are always going to be some fond memories. But lights, dude, I love lights. Love lights.
I love them too. We went to that light show in Phoenix. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
With Romeo. Yeah, that was
fun.
That was pretty cool.
Yep.
That was pretty
fun.
cool.
Dude, also sparkly things. I love sparkly things.
I love sparkly things. I am both like happy and salty, whatever, about this. So do yourself a favor and take a stroll down the little girls' clothes section at Target or Walmart, whatever. You know what? Take a stroll down the little boys section there as well, because there is more fun and color in those kids' clothes than there is in like all of the adult clothes, especially women clothes combined. It is nuts. Like, I get that neutral colors are more professional, but it's actually stupid how much more fun these kids' clothes are than ours. They are bright and rainbow colored and fucking sparkly and sequiny and glittery and all the things. And ours are like the darkest freaking color you can go is plum. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm over it. So I want, as adults, I want to wear fun things. I want a dinosaur in my suit jacket. I want a business skirt to have perfectly elastic bands. I want glittery earrings. I want a Lisa Frank notebook with a matching desk accessories computer kit. Okay? I want all of it.
You are too much.
I get it.
So funny.
My point is, though, if I had that and someone came into my office, they wouldn't take me seriously. But does glitter make me less intelligent? Does glitter make me less qualified to do what I do? No.
Hell no.
It doesn't. Society told us that glitter makes you a female, which makes you less than, which makes you less qualified. Anyway, it is stupid. And sparkly things make me feel like a kid. So, dude, sparkly things.
Sparkly things are the way to go. You have to figure out a way to incorporate them into your life. My makeup bag is sparkly. My nails are sparkly right now.
Hell yeah. That's what you got to do. Find all the things that can be what you want, like sparkly, that don't interfere with things like work.
Yeah. One other thing that really makes me feel like my inner child again is like cool things from nature, like collecting different cool rocks. I used to collect seashells when I was a girl. And now I have like some cool crystals and I have a few seashells still from when I was a girl, but I really like collecting things from nature. That also makes me feel like my inner child.
I love that too. I'm totally with you. And it's like something about just being involved in nature and not in technology and in your emails and everything that feels more childlike. So totally love that. I'll just list off a few of the other things that made me feel like an inner child, or feel like a child again, and got me more in tune with my inner child, rather, excuse me. Just rewatching certain movies, certain music of the time, like whenever I hear Smash Mouth or like Sublime, like I go like straight to my childhood.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Old places you used to chill, like even just being in Elkhart, Indiana makes me feel like a kid. Old bowls and utensils, like those bowls with the straws in them.
Yes.
Those bowls make me feel like a kid. Like, you don't see a bunch of adults like sipping like their bowl with the straw. Like, no. But I'm about that life, okay? And a fun fact, John said he never had one of those growing up. He knows what it is, but he never had one. And I'm like, what a sad day, my love.
Dude, I don't think I ever had one either, to be honest.
To be honest, Julie, I'm not even sure I had one, but I definitely used them many times. So if I did not have one, then it was like family and friends and cousins had them for sure. Like, people had them. Also, video games make me feel like a kid. So I played a lot of like Tetris and Pac-Man and stuff as a kid, like simple games like that, like Dig Dug. And so whenever I play video games, I kind of feel like a kid because you get that full mental release. So that's why obviously I still play video games.
Yes. Love it.
Lastly, just the general concepts of, saying no to responsibilities, yes to work, choosing things you want over things you have to do, and being afraid, like being scared to me is like a childish thing kind of. And I choose that, especially because I'm an October baby. So I'm always choosing haunted houses. I'm choosing to allow myself to be scared. I could turn that switch off. And I think I've told you this before. Like I could walk through that haunted house and be like, all right, yeah, whatever. I know. Like I know I can't get hurt in there, so I'm not scared of anything. But I am fronting. I'm totally fronting. I'm putting on a front in there because I want to be scared. I enjoy allowing myself to experience fear.
Wow.
So being afraid is kind of childish for me. And lastly, I feel like time moves differently when you're a kid. Like when I was a kid, it felt like time just moved really slowly. Now that I'm an adult, I feel like I'm like, holy shit, it's September 15th. Honestly, if I think about it, it's May or like June. So it's really wild to me to experience it that way. And my theory, I don't even know if it's a theory, it might even be a fact, whatever. But like when you're a kid, every single day is a bigger fraction of your entire life, right? Like you might be 1/200th of your entire life every day, depending on how old you are, if you're 200 days old. But as we get older, that fraction of every single day is a smaller piece of our entire life because of how many days we've lived in a whole. Mm-hmm. So if the day it feels as small as its proportionate fraction to the entirety of our life span. And it makes me sad. So I'm working on trying to slow life down. I'm just trying to slow it down and live 100% in the present, so I don't have to physically feel the difference in the length of my days. So more slip and slides and more people bringing their friends over or bringing their kids over to the house so that I can act like a kid too.
I love that, man. I think it's so important to be present and slow things down. It's just so easy now to get swept up into our lives, and I think the more that you are aware of how fast your life moves and the more you are able to slow your life down, I think you're so right and on the money, where you just feel more at peace and just present is the word that keeps coming to mind in your life. That's what really matters.
Absolutely.
Just experiencing the here and the now.
Absolutely. Well, the last couple of things we want to talk about before we sum it up are what happens when we lose our inner child, or maybe we could say ignore or suppress our inner child, versus what the benefits are when we are in tune with our inner child. Mm-hmm. So when we lose our inner child, when we have examples or issues like the example of reacting disproportionately to something that's as simple as dishes, and we choose to suppress that anger or ignore that anger or live with that anger or disappointment, whatever the emotion is, and we assume everyone else around us is just stupid, like it's their issue, right? They didn't do the dishes, they're stupid, right? Instead of saying, wait, they didn't do the dishes and I'm reacting this way, why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
If we ignore that, we ignore the root cause of our reaction. And when we do that, we're not moving forward. We're not living as the best version of ourselves. That's precisely why we should all choose to confront this kind of shit head on with yourself, with whatever you're experiencing, with whatever negative emotions you have. If you are driving in tailgating traffic, and maybe you live in LA, New York, maybe wherever you live, you're driving in this traffic and it's just making you boil up with anger and you can't decide why you feel that way. You got to think, what in my inner child might make me feel sad by this or angered by this? You truly, I feel you truly cannot move forward if you don't catch yourself getting angry or upset or reacting disproportionately about something, and you don't ask yourself why. Is it really the dishes that I'm upset about? Or am I upset because my partner isn't thinking about me? Mm-hmm. Because my roommate doesn't pitch in enough? I'm willing to bet you money that if you're in a similar situation as like the dishes situation, because I've actually been in this situation on the other side of it as the dirty, disgusting roommate that doesn't do their dishes apparently more than once. If you're in this situation, I am suggesting that you sit down and say something like, "Listen, you're the one bothered by the dishes." Let me say, not me. You're not me. You say, "Listen, there's something that's been on my mind and it's getting me frustrated lately, and I think you can help me with it. When I come home and there are dishes in the sink, I feel like you aren't thinking of me and how much it means to me to have a clean kitchen. I don't think you mean it that way, but the message I get when I get home and I see the dishes in the sink is that you don't care about me or my wants or my needs. Would it be fair to ask you to pitch in more?" Now, I feel strongly that the way I've worded this will work for you. I really do. Especially if you stay calm and collected in our interaction and asking it. And this is coming from someone who, like I said, is on the other side of this. Someone who's been the girl that the other person's been mad at for not keeping zero dishes in the sink. I've been in this situation more than once. And obviously, I prefer a clean kitchen too. I'm just not as good at it as I'd like to be. But it's so important to just acknowledge your own feelings, to validate your own feelings. And if there's someone else that's hitting that trigger for you, to acknowledge your own feelings in front of them and to ask them if they think it's fair. I think those words are important, to ask a little more from them in this situation. So I just wanted to give everybody kind of a tangible tool if you're in a situation like that, to remember to acknowledge and validate your own feelings. Say it calm, say it politely, ask if they think it's fair. Maybe their response is, I say, "I don't think it's fair. I think I do the dishes most of the time and you don't do any." You might be surprised by that answer, maybe in your opinion true or false, but
Yeah.
there are ways that people can react, but you can go from there and you can acknowledge the situation. In some cases, people will not validate your feelings and emotions, but that doesn't mean you have to invalidate them. But I think the first step is just saying these are real and let's see what we can do about them. And like I said, I feel if you just say the words that I gave you to this person, almost always you're going to get a positive reaction. And someone's probably going to do some self-reflecting and say something like, "You're right. I didn't know you felt that way. I can do better," even if it's not their immediate reaction. Because some people at first, remember, they have inner wounds too. And they're going to react with shame or embarrassment or anger, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. Just remember to take everything people say with a grain of salt. Remember, we're all the same and that we all have these wounds.
Wow, Des, I feel like that is such a great thing to say to somebody when you just want to you just want to clear the air. And I think you're right though. Communication in a lot of these things, or about a lot of these things, just is a really simple answer, right? And a really kind of simple antidote to the pain and frustration that some of us might feel. Communication really helps, and it fixes a lot of things. But you're right, though. You have to wait till everybody's level-headed to talk. But I think you're spot on. I think that you created a really good message there, for sure.
Communication's key, and it's the number one thing I have learned in my life. The number one thing you can do for yourself and for everyone around you, your partner, anybody, your roommate, anybody who's affecting you. The number one thing you can do is to just politely share your feelings and to enter an open discussion where you're genuinely wondering, like, is this fair?
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me? And if your feeling is completely irrational or invalid, maybe this looks less like a question and more like a statement. And it says, "I recognize that my expectation that there are zero dishes in the sink is not realistic, and I'm working on it. I am. And some days I get frustrated because I feel unconsidered, but I know that you don't mean it that way. And know that it means a lot to me when the kitchen's clean, but I'm also working on letting some of that control go and feeling contentness when there's a fork or two in the sink.
Yeah.
So there are just a lot of ways where you can validate your own feelings, share it with someone without expressing blame, and it can be a really beautiful conversation. So I just encourage everyone to do that. Find one thing that bothers you, find out what in your inner child's causing it, and express it.
I love it. Such a simple thing to try, for sure.
Yes, and then call me and or Julie and have a celebratory shot.
We're going to take a shot, I was going to say.
I conquered this childhood demon. Let's fucking go.
Let's go. Let us go.
I love it. What, Julie, are the benefits of being in tune with your inner child?
I think you look at life with such a clear lens. I think you have more peace in your life, more understanding for yourself as well as others. I think, as we were speaking about earlier, you're able to slow down. You're able to be aware of how fast you're moving and when you're going too fast and when to pump the brakes. You know when to have more fun and when to make time for celebration. I think you probably take life less seriously and take yourself less seriously and understand that, mistakes happen and we can do better and no worries. You kind of have that kind of attitude. And I think you have more meaningful relationships as well. If you have done some of the work that needs to be done from the trauma from your past, definitely you have more meaningful relationships, more intimate, vulnerable relationships that really show who you are, which is what I'm working on. I think that you might have more self-worth. You just feel better about yourself. You have more self-esteem. You're more confident in yourself. You also can forgive yourself and you can move on and you can laugh, when you make a mistake instead of become embarrassed. And I think we should all work on these things.
Absolutely. I think you summed it up very well. We are all trying to achieve these things in our lives. If you're listening, I think that you're on that same path as well. You're trying to blaze a trail. You're just trying to be the best version of yourself, live the best life that you possibly can. And so much of that, as Julie and I have learned in this really deep dive into self-worth and self-love over the past week, the full circle includes being in tune with your inner child. So if you're not able to step back from those situations where you're not your best self and understand why you're acting a certain way, and in some situations even step back from the situations where you are your best self and ask, how does this relate to my inner child? Just getting more in tune with your inner child, spending more time, slowing down, having fun, taking life less seriously, but also being more introspective and just taking the time to say, what can I do better? Or why am I acting this way? And who am I? And why am I this way? All of those things are going to help you live your best life, be the best version of yourself. And we hope that you took a lot away from this episode. I feel like this is our best episode yet. I'm feeling so good about this. I'm feeling so, I'm feeling so good that we got to go through this exercise together. And every time we put an episode together, I know Julie and I live the episode for a week. We are fully integrated into it. And I've learned so much already. So I'm excited to keep growing. And I hope everyone listening is excited to keep growing as well.
Yeah, girl, we got real vulnerable in this one. And I really hope that the vulnerability and our level of just trying to relate really, really hits home with you guys. And we hope that you feel it within you to, maybe take the step to be vulnerable yourself in some way, shape, or form. And that, again, that you learn from us and that this message impacted you. And we're so happy that you're here with us and listening with us. And we are ready and we're blazing the trail with you every damn day.
Every damn day.
Like always, guys, thanks again for listening. Please don't forget to follow us on Instagram, like our page on Facebook, or email us at trailblazerpodcast@gmail.com.
Call, text.
Or text us, call us if you have our
Video
number.
chat.
FaceTime. Let's take those shots, girl. Let's get it.
Please celebrate life with us. I feel like people always say this kind of stuff and then no one calls or whatever. Somebody new better freaking call me and have a shot with me this week. Somebody I don't talk to all the time. I'm going to be so disappointed next episode if I don't have that. I'm going to call you all out.
Ooh, she's calling you out. Three-way me.
No pressure.
I want to be in on this too. Please.
Three-way, girl. We going to have a three-way menage a trois.